1861, the Kitty Hawk sailed downriver to become part of America's front line of defense. Now it's 27 years later, and she's coming back upriver. Only this time, she needs 14 tugs, 260 men, and 1.5 miles of line to help her make the trip.
When the Kitty Hawk was being built, the Navy Yard was very good shape. Sun ship down the river was in good shape.
I have to differ with you, Charlie. My memory's a lot better. 1958 was a mistake. As I remember, my father-in-law told me how lucky I was to be still working at the shipyard. But I'll tell you something, in this family, if your father worked there, you worked there. If your uncle worked there, you worked there.
There was an awful lot of stories came out about the quality of the ship and what it was going to be, and here it is 27 years later in here.
Tell you the truth, I've been waiting for it to come in. Because, I'm getting close to retirement. And I swore I'd stick around until I see it. Some of my work is still on that ship. I went out a year ago, October, when I went to San Diego to do a ship check. Like I said, I was sheet metal work. I did a lot of stainless steel work. And in those days, if you were a half-decent mechanic, you watched your work. And I went into the galley for some of those stainless steel compressed up, and I could crawl around underneath, and I found my markings. A lot of the original equipment still aboard that ship.
Out there in the water, smaller ships catch the waves. This ship is like a Cadillac. It floats right through the water.
We totally gut the ship, strip her down to bare metal, take all major components out, all four main engines. She's virtually gutted. She'll be in drydock for about 1.5 years. And then she'll come out and we'll put her into wet berth, which will actually be floating in the water. Her systems will start coming back up to speed. We'll be testing them. We'll be putting the rest of the ship back together. And then she will leave in February '91. This carrier right here is going to bring a minimum of $750 million into the Delaware Valley. And a local economic group did a study about 5 years ago, and their estimate was that for every dollar spent here at the Naval Shipyard, it rolls over 5 times out there in the community and supports a minimum of 1.5 jobs out in the private sector.
I flew F-4s and F-14s off the deck of Kitty Hawk for many years and commanded a fighter squadron from Kitty Hawk. Captain F. Lee Tillotson, I'm the commanding officer of the Kitty Hawk. The Navy policy is that the captains of aircraft carriers are naval aviators. And I like to look back on it when I was a young aviator launching off of the catapult on a black, rainy night when you couldn't see the bow. And I knew I could look up at the bridge, and that guy had done it 1,000 times. And I knew that for some reason he knew he was going to have a good weather when I came back to land, and it must be okay. The crew of an aircraft carrier is normally over 5,200 people. That consists of over 2,000 that are directly connected with the air wing, which is made up of 9 squadrons. The rest, the other 3,000, are involved with running the ship. Those 3,000 are like you can almost equate them to a small town. And they're providing all the support services that a small town must have. In addition to that, they must be able to drive this ship at 30 knots and launch aircraft while they're doing it. We're doing that with young people. The average age out there on the flight deck is 20 years or younger, which I am always impressed with. Our own crew is being demanned from about 3,000 down to around 1,800 people. Those 1,800 will focus on the types of jobs that a carrier has in overhaul: electricians, pipe fitters, welders, along with the service for the crew, security, and we're trying to hold together a core of experience so when the ship goes back out to sea again, we'll have some people that we can build the type of organization that has been so successful over the last 25 years.
Stephen McAllister. Hey, Stephen, you know your Look here. The catapults on this ship have the capability of sending at least 30 tons of aircraft off the end of the ship at approximately 150 miles an hour, and that's just under 300 feet. My name's Petty Officer Berger, Aviation Boatswain's Mate, 2nd class. I'm assigned to the bow catapults of the Kitty Hawk. I've never been launched off of a catapult myself, but I've talked to a couple of the guys that have been, that either have left the ship for some reason or another. And all they say is a tremendous amount of acceleration. It's like nothing they've ever experienced before. To be up next to a catapult while it's launching itself, sort of a bully pace of sound and vibration, mostly. Especially when we get one more powerful jet showing up to full power, and it's equipped with an afterburner going into an afterburner is an experience that is indescribable when you're close to the jet.
I'm Commander John Simmons. I'm the engineer officer, or commonly called the chief engineer of USS Kitty Hawk. I've been in the Navy 17 years, and I've never done anything but engineering. I got my first assignment with that, and I enjoyed it, and I've stayed with it. The hours generally tend to be quite long because if the ship doesn't get away from the pier, then all of the rest of the things are very little use. And our job, quite frankly, is to get the ship underway, keep the lights on, keep the screws turning, get the window to the deck, and put steam up there so the airplanes can go do what they're supposed to do. And that's the whole reason for an aircraft carrier, is to move the airplanes to where you need the airplanes and to be able to launch them and recover them. Everything on an aircraft carrier is big. The crew is big, the hull is big, the machinery plant is big. Kitty Hawk is 1,100 feet long, give or take a few feet. To give you a perspective of how long 1,100 feet is, if we were to take the Kitty Hawk and stand her on the fantail, which is the back end of the ship, the square end, as we call it, next to the Empire State Building, ignoring the radio tower on the top of the Empire State Building, the bow would be higher than the top of the Empire State Building. We can push over 30 knots, and the ship weighs about 85,000 tons full loaded. The ship at its widest point is 270 feet wide. That's at the flight deck. 280,000 thrust horsepower, and to put that in context, that's about 28,000 automobiles equivalent. We carry a little over 4 million gallons of fuel, enough electrical generating capacity to serve a city of, say, 25,000 people. When we finish SLEP, the basic technology of operating this propulsion plant will be the same as it was when the ship was built 26 years ago right across the river at the New York shipbuilding in Camden. For those of us who operated Kitty Hawk and then brought her here for SLEP, it sometimes is difficult. It's hard to take something that you put the time that we put into it and have her operating the way that she did during the deployment, and to then take it apart like this, knowing how hard it's going to be to get it running again. On the other hand, I've been involved with aircraft carriers for 8 years. I've seen the results of the first 2 SLEPs, Saratoga and Farmside. And I know that we've got our money's worth. We've got what we wanted out of this ship. It's a worthwhile program, and you have to keep that in mind sometimes. It's not fun taking things apart.
When docking a ship here in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, the first thing that comes into play is the ship normally is at Pier 4 or at any pier along the waterfront. This particular case, the Kitty Hawk is at Pier 4. This setup for the Kitty Hawk is quite a job for the Navy Yard, in that we have approximately 99 side blocks, and the setup is 6'8.5". A man can comfortably walk around underneath of the ship, and do their work down there. So right now we have set up the dry dock to receive the Kitty Hawk. The ship now is at Pier 4, and tomorrow we will let the dry dock and cover these blocks, take the caisson out, which you can see all the way at the south end of the dry dock. Take that caisson out, put it over by the Schuylkill River around 7:30, 8 o'clock. We will prepare to break all the services down on the ship over at Pier 4. On a carrier this type will have from 11 to 13 tugs. We'll pull it over, and this carrier is going to come in stern north. After we get it centered up, we'll bring the caisson in, pump water into the caisson, lower it into the sill, then start pumping water out of the dry dock. After we pump it out of the dry dock, the ship will slowly go down on the setup where we're keeping it on center, continue on to pump down, and the ship then is studying high and dry. After that, we get down and check out the setup to see what kind of a job we've done.
My name is Fred Butterfield. I'm a lieutenant in the United States Navy. I'm a docking officer here at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. When the ship was originally constructed, surveyors and shipwrights took exact measurements at all the points where they knew the blocks would be fit eventually. And those are updated periodically as you need, and they describe the contour of the ship. As you can see from the curvature of the blocks, they're meant to cradle the ship exactly where those individual points on the hull lie. And each time the ship is docked, and it's docked about once every 4 to 5 years, a new docking position is specified, meaning the blocks are shifted approximately 2 feet. And what this allows for is a complete painting of the underwater hull every 3 docking cycles, which is approximately every 12 to 15 years. When I check it, I have the tolerance of plus or minus 1 inch along the longitudinal, plus or minus 1/2 inch along the foreship, and plus or minus 1/4 inch up and down. So it's a very tight tolerance. But we shoot for 0.
I had full control of the ship and all the tugboats. And Captain Anderson, the chief pilot, told us the Naval Shipyard. We were originally scheduled for Saturday. However, we had winds 25, 30 knots, which made it so you'd be unable to move the ship effectively. We have had ships where we took them out, and then after we got out, the wind increased. And then you don't have any choice. You go regardless. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't go back to the pier. We have to come in on the left of flood tide because that's the weakest point. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to hold the ship broadside to the current. It'd be like putting a dam across the river. Pilot by the seat of your pants. You pick out different things and use them as guides to hold the ship in the position you want. And you make sure the ship's in the exact position you want before you start at the dock. Well, one is a light over on the shore over there, the buoys, buoy 44, Schuylkill buoy. Use all those things in conjunction with each other.
I got him, Captain. Get out, get it clear, get up there all foot.